Imagine that every imported product you buy carries an economic secret, a tax that not only affects its price, but is also the tool that some governments use to protect and boost their local industries. In the next few minutes, you'll discover how tariffs really work, revealing how and why they are imposed, who wins and who loses in this global game. Get ready to understand in a simple and practical way the mechanism behind this measure that directly influences international trade and the price of what we consume. Tariffs are basically taxes that a country applies to goods that come from abroad. Imagine you buy an imported product, like a television or a car, and when it crosses the border, that product is taxed with an additional cost. That cost is the tariff. This measure is used by governments to regulate international trade, protect local production, and sometimes as a tool for economic and diplomatic policy. To explain it more concretely, think of tariffs as a kind of entry fee for products that are not manufactured in the country. By imposing this tax, the government seeks two main objectives: to generate additional income for the state and to favor local industry, which competes with foreign products. However, it is important to remember that the application of tariffs has both positive and negative implications. A practical example could be the case of the textile industry. A country with an emerging textile industry can impose high tariffs on clothing imports from other countries. This makes foreign products more expensive in the local market, allowing the local industry to compete on equal terms. However, this measure can also make the supply more expensive for consumers, who will end up paying a higher price for the same garment. The way tariffs work can be understood through their mechanism of application and their effects on trade. When an imported product arrives at a country's customs, a percentage or a fixed rate is applied to its value. This calculation is based on the price of the product, shipping costs, insurance, and in some cases, other associated charges. The result is a tax that the importer must pay so that the product can enter and be marketed in the country. There are different types of tariffs, such as ad valorem tariffs, which are calculated as a percentage of the value of the product, and specific tariffs, which are a fixed amount per unit of product. For example, if you import 100 liters of oil and a specific tariff of 50 cents per liter is applied, the total additional cost would be $50 regardless of the total value of the oil. On the other hand, a 10% ad valorem tariff would mean that if the value of the oil is $500, the tax to be paid would also be $50. In addition, tariffs can vary depending on trade agreements between countries. Treaties such as the FTA, Free Trade Agreement, seek to reduce or eliminate these taxes to encourage the exchange of goods between the signatory nations. This means that, in some cases, companies can benefit from lower tariff burdens, which translates into more competitive prices for consumers. An interesting fact is that, although tariffs may seem like a barrier to free trade, in reality, they often act as a protection mechanism for nascent industries, allowing them to grow and mature before facing international competition. However, this same mechanism can trigger trade conflicts and retaliation, generating tensions between countries. When we talk about tariffs, it is essential to analyze their effects on different economic actors. First, one of the main beneficiaries of tariffs are local industries. By making foreign competition more expensive, these measures allow domestic producers to develop and strengthen their supply, which can translate into job creation and the development of productive capacities in the country. It is a strategy that, in the short and medium term, can protect strategic sectors and promote self-sufficiency. However, not everything is so positive. Consumers, for example, are usually the most indirectly affected. By increasing the cost of imported products, prices in the domestic market tend to rise. This means that despite the fact that local industry is strengthened, citizens' pockets are pressured by inflation and the rising cost of everyday products. A clear example is the increase in the price of household appliances or technology, which often come from other countries and which end up being more expensive due to tariff taxes. Another group that can be harmed are companies that depend on imported raw materials for their production. In some cases, these companies face higher costs, which can affect their competitiveness and consequently impact employment and the economy in general. In addition, at the international level, the imposition of tariffs can generate trade tensions and retaliation, affecting the relationship between countries and complicating economic agreements that benefit both parties. Finally, it is important to mention that tariffs, although they can generate income for the state, do not always translate into sustainable economic development. While in the short term they can protect vulnerable sectors, In the long term, they can encourage inefficiency and limit competition, which affects innovation and economic growth. Therefore, many experts advocate finding a balance using other trade policy tools that not only protect local industry, but also guarantee competitive prices for consumers. Having analyzed who wins and who loses with tariffs, let's close this tour with a conclusion that summarizes what we have learned and encourages us to continue exploring this fascinating topic. In short, tariffs are an economic policy tool with clear objectives to protect local industry, generate income for the state, and regulate international trade. However, as we have seen, its application has a mixed impact. While domestic producers can find in them an ally to grow and compete, consumers and some companies may experience price increases and higher production costs. The challenge is to find the right balance so that the protection of certain industries does not become an obstacle to comprehensive economic development. I hope this video has managed to clear up your doubts about what tariffs are, how they work, and what their implications are. Economics is a world full of nuances, and every measure, no matter how simple it may seem, has repercussions that extend to all sectors of society. I invite you to continue researching and deepening these topics, since understanding them is essential for making informed decisions in our daily lives. If you liked this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming content. And of course, leave your comments and questions below. I would love to know your opinion and clarify any doubt you may have. See you next time and keep learning to grow financially. With this message, we close our tour today, thanking you for your time and wishing you an excellent path towards financial knowledge.